Hi everyone, my name is Harry. I'm the host of the Clarity in Complexity, a podcast program by Lockton Asia. So I'm very happy to have Tony with me today. Tony is the CEO of Lockton Asia, and we'll talk about our broker advantage and how we navigate solutions for our clients. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you.
So this will be our first episode of the podcast program, and I'm very happy to have you today. Before we start, can you share a little bit about yourself and Lockton for us?
Yes, Lockton is the world's largest privately owned broker. It's been in existence for nearly 60 years, having started in Kansas City in 1966, but is now represented worldwide through 6 different regions. I've been in the insurance business for over 40 years. I've worked at Marsh, I've worked for an AIG operation, I've worked at JLT, and for the last 19 years I've worked for Lockton, first in London and now for 1 year here in Asia.
Yeah. We'll touch more on the Asia part when we're talking about the insurance solution in our podcast program. So to start off, can you share how will you describe the role of a broker to our clients, for clients who don't know about our industry?
The broker is there to provide service to the client. We are working for the client. This is a little bit different to maybe an agent who is working for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 specific insurers. So we represent the client to the insurance market, and we at Lockton can do that on a global basis. And we talk with the clients, we understand their exposures, we give them advice around appropriate markets to be going to, which insurers to go to. We talk about the coverage they need, and we seek to get the most appropriate pricing for them. That's not always the cheapest price, in all honesty. It's the best price for the deal, because the important thing that a broker does is to understand the exposure that the client has, what their business is, as opposed to somebody else's business that's a bit like theirs, and find the appropriate level of cover at the best price.
Is it possible for clients to purchase insurance solutions from directly from the insurer instead via the broker? And why would they contact us to do so?
Well, many insureds do, from small to large. They can have direct relationship with insurers, and we don't stand in the middle of that. That is their choice. What we offer is a much broader understanding of the various insurers and various insurance markets around the world. So we have a deeper and a broader understanding of the market in order to provide different sorts of solutions. You know, in fairness, if you go directly to an insurer, they're going to be selling you what they have. We are selling what many different insurers have, and very often in combination of insurers who might be co-insuring that risk. So it's just a different, broader service.
Okay, so we are not only connecting the insurance company and the clients, but we offer more to our clients. Can you share a little bit more about that part?
Yeah, I mean, a broker isn't here as a dating agency. I mean, we're not there to just provide introductions to each other. The role is for us to understand that client exposure, to find insurers that have appetite for that type of exposure, because insurers have different appetites, all different sorts of segments of industry. So, our experience sort of shortcuts that search, because we know the places to go. And in our deep understanding, to be curious, to be thoughtful, to understand the client's exposure allows us to make sure that we have the discussions with insurers that will provide the right level of cover. Because getting claims paid when they happen is what the policy is all about.
Okay. So after understanding the role of broker and some of our background as Lockton, before we recommend solutions to our clients, how do we evaluate their needs?
Well, that is can be a long process. we need to understand what the client does, what their products are, which geographies they're in, what is their contractual risk management like. So there's many aspects of exposure, and it's just this that conversation that allows us to differentiate between clients that may seem similar because they're in the same industry, but they never are the same. They're just similar. So to understand that exposure and match it to what an insurer can offer, that is the key of what the broker does.
Even though like two companies in the same industry, they have different risk appetite, and that's our job to help them to evaluate and provide solutions for them.
Yeah, absolutely. They may be willing to take more risk themselves, and they may be willing to enter into different sorts of relationships. They might have their own captive insurers if they're at a certain size. No two clients will be exactly the same. And understanding that difference is really crucial to what we do.
One question comes to my mind, like immediately, like if a client, they prefer some of the insurers to work with, but we recommend some other solutions from another insurer. So how do we communicate with our clients?
Well, I think what we need to do there is to make sure that we encourage our clients to understand the appetite of different insurers, to meet with them, to have discussions, because they may well have a preference because they've worked with certain insurers before, they may have done it for a long time, but sometimes an alternative is also the valid option. So there it's about creating new relationships, and I think you need to keep that relationship between clients and markets quite dynamic so that they have the opportunity to know new insurers and then work with them.
So can you walk us through, like after we evaluate their needs and risks, what are the steps ahead when we do the solutions design and the placement for them?
Well, once we've really understood the exposure, once we've understood what the future planning of the client is, because looking forward is an important element of how we place, we then work with them to put forward a submission that gives all the appropriate underwriting information to the market, so that the market can then, based on their appetite, decide whether they want to participate, at what level they wish to participate, with which cover and what exclusions they might want, and at what price. So, having the information that is very clear, very transparent, that allows the underwriters to assess risk correctly and with good thought is very important.
After we present several insurance solutions to our clients, how do we help them to make the right decisions?
I think we need to work on experience. We need to talk about the service level of different insurers. They're not all the same all of the time. We need to think about future claims paying activity. We need to really talk about the language, because different insurers will have different terms and conditions, different exclusions. So we need to be very clear with our clients around that coverage level. And so an insurer may have a cheaper price, but the cover may be less broad. So, that's the kind of discussion that we need to have.
Speaking on the language from different insurers, how can we help our clients to understand different languages, and how can we better provide the policy wordings for them?
That's out of the experience. I mean, the important thing at Lockton is a lot of experienced people. We've seen a lot of different things. We've had all sorts of different relationships with all sorts of different insurers, and we've seen a lot of different policies. So, we can understand how policy language will play out, in our view, for the exposure that we're talking about. So it's that kind of discussion where you say, well, what you need to look at with this exclusion is this possible consequence. Whereas with this exclusion, we would see something that is a little bit broader, something more appropriate for your exposure. So that's a skill and experience thing. And that's about being, a trusted advisor. That is understanding the client and finding the correct language.
So earlier we talked about the price sensitive part, and you talk about like for cheaper price, we may have different sort of coverage limits. So when clients ask us about the price, how can we do the best for them while providing them the best coverage limit as possible?
Well, this is the art of the, as opposed to the science maybe, because there is, an amount of opinion. But everybody wants the best deal.
Yes.
Totally accept that, and we're out to get the best deal for our clients. Clearly we are. But it is understanding the shortcomings of certain wordings that's important. So something may cost 100,000 and something else 120,000. If there's a difference in price, we need to be able to understand the difference, in our opinion, of policy language. And that's the important thing, because there is no more expensive policy in the world than one that doesn't pay a claim. So, that's what we're trying to do for the client, is to say, these are the different options and these are the differences.
We are the risk advisor and presenting solutions for them.
Exactly.
So can you share one example where we significantly improve the client's outcome in terms of designing and placing an insurance solution?
Well, when you've been in the game for 40 years, there's so
Too
many.
many.
But, well, that's a good question. I can remember, and this is an example of understanding the commercial reality within a client. We had a client a few years back, and we had only just won that business, and they had quite a large cyber program. Cyber insurance is quite expensive, and it seemed unusually large, and it was 200 million of limit. And what she said to the client, in reality, they were in network solutions. In reality, what happens if you have an issue with a client? And they said, well, in all honesty, we'll have a commercial solution with them. We will sell things a bit cheaper for 2 years or something. We'll have a deal. So it was very clear that somebody had sold them a big insurance program that they actually didn't need. We did buy a smaller one because there was a need for policy language under certain contracts around the world. But the biggest contract they had anywhere to show a valid cyber insurance was for 50 million. So instead of buying 200 million, they could buy 50 million. And we also could explain the reality of how losses really occur and what happens to them, to insurers. It was a significantly different program, and that's about listening to a client and understanding their exposure.
So that client, they overpaid in the previous solution, and then we suggest an appropriate one for them?
That was our opinion. We put that to the client thought about it, and they agreed.
I think that's a very important part for us to build credibility, so that we prepare what they need instead of we over-prepare what they need.
I think we really, and this is about being the advisor to the client and not someone that's selling for the insurer. We are not out there just selling product. We are trying to find the right deal for the client.
After talking about this cyber solution company, can I ask you about another example where we help client to do renewal or do claims, and that we help them significantly?
I think the insurance policy, when all said and done, is about getting claims paid. So there's very many examples where you need to work very hard to remind insurers of what they underwrote in the first place. And so it's in claims. This is many occasions, I wouldn't cite just one, but it all hinges around the one thing. Don't you remember what we said to you when you accepted this risk? And don't you remember why you accepted this risk and what you understood about the exposure? Tell me why you wouldn't pay this claim. Because policy language is not always precise. I mean, it can be subject to interpretation. So, it's very important that the broker and the underwriter, as opposed to maybe two separate claims departments, are right in the middle of that claim. And that's a really valuable service to a client.
That's the promise made by the insurer in the first place, and our promise made to the clients for them to understand the solutions.
And that we will always fight for them.
Yep.
We are going to get their money.
A big part of our business is about credibility and promises. May I now move on to another part where we talk about Lockton's advantage. And every time when we meet our clients, when we do sales presentation, there is a one page about who we are and what are the Lockton advantages. So can you please talk a little bit about that?
I always think that the Lockton advantage is about the people. It's all of our associates, all of their combined knowledge, the way that we can collaborate across the globe. We will always find expertise, whether it be placement or whether it be claims, whether it's risk analysis, whether it's data analytics. You have to find the right people. We've got the experience. This is a privately owned company. We put money back into the company in order to make sure that we have the level of experience that our clients expect and need and demand. So I would say the advantage is the people, but fundamentally backed up by that private ownership that has clients right in the middle of our business. This is not about providing shareholder return. This is about client service. It's something very different.
Yes, as an independent brokerage firm, that's what we always emphasize to our clients.
Of course.
So Lockton has been expanding fairly rapidly in Asia with offices in Greater China, Singapore, South Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines. So what are our next plan and how can our expansion help our insurers to optimize their distribution strategies?
We will continue to invest where we feel appropriate in Asia. That might mean new territories. Lockton as a company is never obsessed about having a flag in the ground, but if it's something that we feel is adds to the service that we can provide our clients, we will definitely do that. We are most certainly going to keep investing in people in all of our territories and our product lines. So building up our specialty areas in power, energy, construction, employee benefits, financial lines, and that's the thing. We will invest where we feel we can help the client. In Asia, we have very big aspirations. I mean, it's pretty well known out there that we intend to double in 5 years' time. That will be done by retaining our clients because we give them great service, and it will be about winning clients through all the different tools and experiences and abilities that we have. For insurers, that means they have more opportunity to relate to clients through Lockton.
Yep, retaining clients and winning clients by investing in people and to work collaboratively with insurers will be our main goal.
Exactly.
Yeah. How can we stay ahead of this evolving clients' expectations and technology advancement? Like all people talk about AI and all this stuff. What can we do for them, the clients?
Firstly we need to understand where they are moving as clients. So if they're in new technology, it's important for us to understand that, and we need to keep talking to them so that we better understand their future plans and aspirations. We also need to make sure that we have the sort of appropriate technology that helps us to service clients. A lot of technology, AI included, gives people more time to spend with clients and to look for new clients, but particularly to work with clients, which is part of our retention. It's the way that we work with our clients and make sure that we understand them, make sure that we give them the appropriate service and coverage, and technology will help us do that.
Like, coming to the end of the episode, if there is one thing they would like our listeners, in particular our clients, to remember about Lockton, what would it be?
I think to know that we are inquisitive, that we are curious, that we want to understand the risk of the clients, and that we are here to be their trusted advisor. We are their advisor. We are giving them access, we're enabling access to the market all around the world, but we work for them, we'll understand them, and we wish to keep them as a client for a very long time, because we feel that knowledge gives great credibility to what we do in the market for them.
Okay, so we will be the enabler for them to tap on the numerous solutions in the market, and we will give risk advice to our clients to make the best decisions. So thank you very much, Tony. For today, we talk about how we navigate solutions for our clients in Asia, and I know there will be a second episode where we talk about our relationships with the insurers.